thank you Pandit, to invite me actually to give this talk. I'm also aware that everybody is hungry and I'm the last speaker in this, so I'll keep that in mind. What I'm talking about today is basically slightly different than the themes that we have talked in this forum today. I'm talking about if the future, what future holds for human employment, in a sense, if all of us do certain tasks for earning a living, and if technology to take over some of these tasks, what that would mean. Can technology take over these tasks? I mean, is it possible? And if technology has to take over these tasks, then what that technology would need? What kind of technology that would need? I mean, is it just the kind of, earlier speaker talked about statistical learning, in a sense, and learning from a body of knowledge that a particular task done by multiple people can hold, and then you learn from that. Is that a kind of a future? Or there is something else that is going on where humans have intrinsically a different way of doing things, understanding things. And is there anything that we can borrow from understanding something like what neuroscience does, or our understanding of our ancient stuff, like the way memory, understanding of repetition, memory, all those stuff, our own cultures. But the idea is that if we understand human tasks, there are three kinds of tasks that are there in the service. One would be the processes that humans do individually. We complete them, and then if those need to be automated, then basically they can be enhanced, speeded up, or then they can be reduced or completely replaced. There are other types of tasks that humans do where we do this in collaborative manner. I mean, we build bigger houses or pyramids with not just one individual human hands, but by combining our skills and combining efforts, and we build that. And the third categories of tasks, I mean, that where humans are not capable of doing something. Like, for instance, computing all the Facebook pages and understanding them, it is impossible for humans, because that much memory, that much the cognition power that we do not have. So if this is what the human efforts would mean, then what has happened so far? So what kind of different waves of automation that we have seen? And some of them are, you have seen, some of them you might not, it might be new to you. Like, for instance, first we have automated human labor. We would walk, we would have a cycle, we would have a motorbike. So basically that would be first wave. The second was that information access. We got an ability to have access to information, and everybody would have information access at their fingertips, and that we can see with internet, mobile. All of this is basically automating the information access. What would have happened with where you would have to go to a library, access that information, now that becomes available to you. Then after that, we automated our collaboration. It's like one of the things would be that how humans collaborate with each other, how humans socialize with each other. Facebooks and all the other Twitters are allowing us to actually to have this collaboration in an automated manner. The one other wave that people have kind of not mostly understood, but in India I think we have seen that, is that when people started outsourcing tasks, that is also in a kind of automation, right? Because as you know that if you are doing a particular task and if you want to give that task to somebody else, it's a very difficult effort. You cannot just take the task and give it to somebody. So you have to kind of formalize that task, put it in a particular structure, and then that task gets given to somebody. So KPOs and BPOs are in a way a kind of automation that certain particular societies evolved to a certain extent that they can actually take a task and give it out to somebody, and that task will be done somewhere else and then given back in a particular format that I expected. Then, now the newest with deep learning, machine learning, what we are now trying to do is to automate tasks which are extremely human interaction intensive. Because these are tasks where humans need to actually interact, understand, and then do something, and that's what we are kind of about. The future, the next future, and many of the speakers talked about that, would be where what we would call as a bionic humans, where humans will actually have machines aiding them to actually take them to the next level. And if in this context, let us try to understand, and again, my context is purely human efforts, tasks that are done by humans, especially knowledge-based tasks, what would happen to them. Suppose if you take, then, let's an attempt at defining these tasks would mean that there are two kinds of expertise humans would have, two kinds of expertise. One, you can't hear, sorry, I'm just kind of going. So two kinds of expertise that humans would need to do a particular task. Okay. One is what I call as the domain of expertise, and that I will define a little bit later, in terms of expertise of understanding, experience that a particular human being would have. And a good example would be driving a car. Eventually it becomes an expertise, or doing a particular task again and again. A scientist doing work in a laboratory builds up an experience over a period of time, and that is what I call as the domain of expertise. Domain of description, and that I think many times we are kind of confusing these two. Domain of description is by far one of the most important things. I think all the speakers and all of us, and let's say the organization that we are talking about today is in domain of description, right? Because domain of description means that how do you record the experience of people in our documentation, in our understanding, in our any documentation, any recording of these tasks would mean domain of description. And domain of description would need understanding of language, understanding of other skill sets where you can communicate to others. And I think any task that if you take can be divided into domain of description and domain of expertise. Now the domain of these two are actually driven by three different aspects, and that's what humans do. So when humans think about a task, they use language, and language could be defining something, explaining something, naming something, and people who actually understand computer science would know that the language, even in computer science, plays a big role. Suppose you write code where you name that particular function, then you use that function again and again, and that naming, and that is an extremely important aspect, that the language is required to name things. And name some very complex stuff, like for instance, the previous speaker, right? The understanding of cognition, various stages of cognition. You have to name them. All of these stuff is about naming. Geometry, ability to understand spaces, distances, all of those are extremely important in understanding these tasks. Lastly, mathematical computation. So combine together language, geometry, and mathematical computation, and divide that into domain of expertise and domain of description, and what you would get is what we would call as general human intelligence. And that general human intelligence is what really defines the work that humans do, different types of work. And while doing this, while having this intelligence, what humans are able to do, that is basically the computers have to do eventually now, will be ability to find and deal with variance. In a sense, if there is a particular movement, a particular task that you're doing, a human being would be able to understand that a slightly variant version of that task I can do. Even if I've not been told to do that particular task, we are able to detect that variance, detect the understanding of that task as a slightly different, but that's the same category, and we are able to actually perform that task. And that's an important aspect if machines were to learn that, right? So in a way, from my perspective of automating human tasks, I think machines are not there as yet. And purely statistically learning from data, it's going to be extremely difficult for machines to do these kinds of understanding of these variants, and that's a real deal. The next thing that humans have in terms of capability is ability to understand and deal with unknowns. The understanding of unknowns is a very important thing, because that's another aspect of human intelligence that is extremely difficult to replicate for machines. Machines will be finding it difficult to replicate these things. So having the ability to understand variants and having the ability to deal with unknowns, then now humans many times we are able to understand if the task is complete and if the task is of good quality. Okay, so this is very important, because if you do not understand if the task is complete, then you can keep on doing the task again and it will not. So there is a time limit. Like Dr. Ranjan told me that in our patent offices in India, a particular patent examiner would do something like 15 patents per month. Now, how do you actually figure out a way to either expedite, kind of create a speeded up mechanism to do 30 patents in a year? Because there, the patent examiner has to know that, look, my search, I do not have to search forever, because I can search for 2 days, 3 days, and not kind of end my search. So, an awareness of completeness and awareness of quality is a hallmark of human intelligence, and that's a kind of interesting. So we are able to perform tasks given by somebody else and do that repetitive manner, and then do that in an intelligent manner, and do that in a creative manner. And creativity, as people talked about, creativity is about these two things: understanding variants, creating a variant way of doing something, and dealing with unknown situations in a very interesting way is also a very creative human instinct that allows us to do stuff. That is what we do in our day-to-day lives. So any AI or machine learning system will have to deal with these aspects in order for that complete automation that we are talking about. And it is a